Hi, my name is Brianna Blastic, and my presentation is on gender issues and disasters. So, first, let's discuss why gender issues and disasters are important. Gender is defined as the state of being male or female, typically used with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. Gender issues are often used to only refer to women, but women and men are both affected differently. For this project, however, I will be focusing on women. Gender shapes the disaster experience and the ability to recover. It explains why certain groups of people are at a greater risk or why some others recover at a slower pace. Since gender plays an important role in assigning roles and responsibilities within groups and in determining the access to and control of resources among groups, gender sensitivity and gender aspect become a valid and important policy domain during disasters and throughout the rehabilitation, recovery, and reconstruction process. Natural disasters affect women, men, girls, and boys differently. In fact, due to socioeconomic conditions as well as cultural beliefs and traditional practices, women and girls are more likely to be disproportionately affected by disasters, including through loss of life during and in the aftermath of disasters and increased gender based violence. However, the needs of women are generally overlooked in the relief and recovery process, and their capacities and skills are not used as a resource in emergency management and planning. Women are made more vulnerable to disasters through their socially constructed roles. Research shows that women and girls die in much greater numbers in extreme disaster events. The inclusion of women's perspectives and leadership is a necessary recognition both of the greater risks women experience and their unique roles in resilience building, disaster response, and recovery. According to UN Women, in the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, women and children made up 77% of the victims in Indonesia. And in 1991, the cyclone in Bangladesh killed 140,000 people within the age range group 20 to 44. The female death rate was 71 per thousand, compared to 15 per thousand for men. Of those killed by Cyclone Nargis in Myanmar in 2008, 61% were women and girls. In some severely affected villages, the death rate of those aged 18 to 60 for women was double that of men. The death toll for women and girls following the devastating earthquake in Nepal of 2015 was 55%. Some of the conclusions from researchers have been that women face greater vulnerability than men in developing countries. Caregiving responsibilities, a lack of mobility, and social isolation all contribute to women's risk exposure and vulnerability. Several studies disclose that women, as a result of caregiving, are at a greater risk in many disastrous situations as they must stay with, assist, and protect and nurture family members. According to UNESCO, in many cases, women have limited access to formal disaster management mechanisms or to any kind of information and resources related to disaster preparedness and prevention. Women's skills, experiences, and capabilities in times of natural catastrophes are often not identified, recognized, and promoted in time. As women's participation in disaster risk reduction decision-making processes at all levels throughout the world is low. Disasters themselves can increase women's vulnerability. Aside from the fact that majority of shelter residents are women, numerous studies have shown an increase in levels of domestic and sexual violence following disasters. Women are reluctant to use shelters where they would have to interact with men they do not know for fear of sexual assault and or sex trafficking. Women's skills need to be identified in disasters. Women have experiences and capabilities that could benefit decision-making processes. Women need to be more involved in the disaster risk reduction decision-making process at all levels. A woman's perspective needs to be present to better serve women during a time of disaster. Stereotypes need to be pushed aside. Women are not just victims. Women lead households, and they're not more vulnerable because of it. They can participate in emergency management processes even though they have children. This is a human rights issue, so it should be treated as one. Confront the sexual violence that happens during and after disaster, and include this when disaster planning. Increased data reports on gender in disasters needs to happen. Many countries still do not collect or report gender-related data. There are some efforts that already exist, such as the UN Women's Flagship Program. This program strengthens assessments of the gender dimensions of disaster risk. It promotes gender-responsive national disaster risk management policy and governance. It attempts to close the financing gap for gender-responsive prevention, preparedness, and recovery, and it strengthens the capacity of women to prevent, prepare for, and recover from disasters. Another already existing effort is UNESCO's Program on Disaster Preparedness and Prevention. This program ensures gender mainstreaming to help promote equality.